Ravi was a young mechanic who worked on a small space station called Harbor 9. The station floated quietly near the edge of human territory, far from the busy trade routes. It was not a grand place. The walls were scratched, the lights flickered sometimes, and the air always smelled faintly of engine oil. Still, Ravi loved it. It was his home and his workshop. Most days were simple for him. He would fix broken cargo ships, clean rusty pipes, and sometimes help pilots who barely knew how to maintain their engines. Nothing exciting ever happened. The days felt the same until one afternoon, when the alarm bell rang across the station. "Attention, all crew," the speaker said. "A royal vessel requests docking. Prepare for arrival." Ravi froze for a moment. A royal vessel? On Harbor 9? That was impossible. Royal ships were large, shiny, and full of important passengers. They usually stopped only at prime stations, not old ones like his. Still, the screen confirmed it. A bright silver ship, decorated with glowing blue markings, was approaching the station. The entire crew hurried to get ready. They cleaned the docking bay, polished their uniforms, and tried to look serious. Ravi wiped his greasy hands on his jumpsuit, feeling out of place. He was just a mechanic. Royal visitors were far above him. When the ship finally docked, everyone held their breath. The door opened with a soft hiss, and a group of tall alien guards stepped out. Their armor gleamed, and their eyes glowed faintly. They were from the Aurelian Empire, a powerful alien kingdom known for its strict traditions. Behind the guards, a young woman walked slowly. She had smooth silver skin that reflected the lights and long hair that shimmered like strands of glass. Her eyes were bright violet, glowing softly. She wore a long dress decorated with strange patterns, marking her as someone important. She was none other than Princess Myra, daughter of the alien king. The station commander bowed deeply, his voice shaking as he welcomed her. "Princess, it is an honor, truly an honor," Myra only nodded politely. She looked calm, but her eyes scanned the station with quiet curiosity. Ravi stood at the back, trying not to be noticed. He was not supposed to speak to royalty. But fate did not care about rules. Later that day, Ravi was called to inspect the royal ship's engine. It had suffered damage from a meteor storm. The alien engineers struggled to repair it, since some parts were delicate and needed special tools. Ravi had worked with similar machines before, so the commander asked him to help. Nervously, he agreed. Inside the ship, everything looked different. The walls glowed with soft light, and the floor was so clean he could see his reflection. Ravi carried his toolbox, feeling clumsy in the perfect hallways. Finally, he reached the engine chamber. To his surprise, Princess Myra was there, watching the repairs. The guard stood at her side, silent and serious. Ravi tried to focus on his work, but he felt her eyes on him. His hands trembled slightly as he tightened a bolt. At last, one of his tools slipped and clattered loudly to the floor. Embarrassed, Ravi bent to pick it up. When he looked up again, Myra was smiling faintly. "Are you nervous?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. Ravi froze. Was the princess speaking to him? He opened his mouth but only managed a clumsy answer. "A little. I don't usually fix ships while royalty is watching." The guards glanced at each other, shocked by his casual words. No one spoke to the princess like that. But Myra only tilted her head, studying him. "You are different," she said quietly. "Most people bow and whisper. You speak as if I am ordinary." Ravi scratched the back of his neck. "Well, you asked me a question. It would be rude not to answer." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then something unexpected happened. Myra gave a small laugh. It was soft, like a bell, but it made the guards stiffen in surprise. The princess almost never laughed. Ravi blinked, unsure if he had done something wrong. But Myra looked at him with a gentle smile. "What is your name, mechanic?" "Ravi," he said. "Ravi," she repeated, as if testing the sound. "You may continue your work. I will watch." The rest of the time passed strangely. Ravi fixed the engine, trying to focus, but Myra kept asking him small questions. "What is this tool? Why do you use it that way? Why do you smile when you are tired?" She seemed curious about everything. Ravi answered honestly, sometimes adding small jokes. To his surprise, she laughed again. By the time the engine hummed back to life, Myra's eyes were brighter than before. She had spent her whole life in silence and formality, where no one dared to joke with her. Ravi's simple honesty felt refreshing. As he packed his tools, Ravi glanced at her. "Well, princess, your ship should be fine now. Try not to fly into any more meteor storms." The guards glared at him for speaking so casually, but Myra hid another laugh behind her hand. For the first time, she felt like someone was treating her not as a princess, but as a person. And Ravi, without knowing it, had started something that would change both of their lives. The royal ship remained at Harbor 9 for several days while final repairs were completed. Normally, Princess Myra would stay inside her private chamber, far from common workers. But something about her meeting with Ravi had stayed in her mind. He was unlike anyone she had met before. He had spoken freely, not with fear, not with heavy formality. For the first time in years, she had laughed. The next day, Myra surprised everyone when she asked to walk around the station. Her guards followed closely, but her eyes searched the halls with curiosity. Harbor 9 was no royal palace, it was old, crowded, and noisy. But Myra seemed strangely fascinated by the small details, the flickering lights, the scratched walls, even the faint smell of fuel. "Princess," one guard whispered nervously, "this place is not worthy of you." But Myra only replied, "Perhaps it is not grand. Yet it feels alive." That afternoon, she found herself near the mechanic's workshop. The door was half open, and inside she could hear Ravi humming as he worked on a broken generator. His sleeves were rolled up, his hands black with grease, and his toolbox lay open at his feet. He looked up in surprise when he noticed her. "Princess Myra," he said quickly, standing straighter. "I didn't expect—" "Do not bow," she interrupted softly. "I did not come here for formality. I wanted to watch you work again." Ravi blinked, unsure what to say. The guards looked uncomfortable, but they stayed at the door. Slowly, Ravi relaxed and returned to the generator. "Well, if you don't mind the noise and smell, you can stay. But it's not very exciting." Myra stepped closer, her silver skin glowing in the dim light. "It is exciting to me. No one in my world fixes things with their own hands. We command, and others obey. But you shape broken metal into life again." Ravi chuckled. "I never thought of it that way. To me, it's just fixing what's broken." Myra watched carefully as he tightened bolts and adjusted wires. At one point, he tapped the side of the machine lightly. "Come on, don't be shy," he muttered to the generator. The princess tilted her head. "Why are you speaking to the machine?" Ravi grinned. "Because sometimes, machines listen when you treat them kindly. If you get angry, they get stubborn. If you joke, they behave better." Myra covered her mouth to hide a laugh. "That is very strange." "Strange, but true," Ravi said, and at that moment, the generator buzzed to life with a soft hum. He spread his hands proudly. "See? Works every time." This time, Myra did not hold back her laughter. The sound was bright and clear, echoing in the workshop. The guards looked shocked, but Ravi only smiled. From that day forward, Myra returned often. She asked questions about everything, about tools, about space travel, about Earth. Ravi told her simple stories of his childhood, of running through fields, of fixing broken radios, of sitting under the night sky with friends and telling silly jokes. Myra listened with wide eyes. In her world, there were no such things. Princes and princesses did not run freely, did not joke, did not sit under stars without guards. You humans live so simply, she whispered once. Yet, there is joy in your stories. Real joy. Ravi shrugged. We don't have palaces or glowing towers. But we do have laughter. Maybe that's worth something. Myra looked down, her cheeks glowing faintly. Laughter is not common in my world. People believe it weakens respect. Ravi tilted his head. That sounds lonely. Her violet eyes softened. It is. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Ravi gave a crooked smile. Well, princess, you're welcome to borrow my laughter whenever you want. The words made Myra blush slightly, though she tried to hide it. You speak too boldly, Ravi, she murmured. Or maybe just honestly, he replied. That evening, as they walked back toward the royal quarters, Myra suddenly whispered, Sweetie. Ravi blinked. Did you just wait, did you call me sweetie? Myra's lips curved into a small, mischievous smile. That is what you called me yesterday, is it not? I wished to see how it feels to say such a word. Ravi almost choked in surprise. The guard stared at him with wide eyes, ready to scold. But Myra lifted her hand, silencing them, her eyes shining with quiet amusement. Ravi rubbed the back of his neck. Well, if you're going to call me sweetie, I'll just have to call you darling. For the briefest moment, Myra's silver cheeks turned a soft shade of pink. Then she looked away, hiding her smile. And then, unexpectedly, they both laughed loud and free, like two friends who had known each other forever. The sound carried through the hallway, leaving the guards speechless. It was not the laughter of a princess and a mechanic, nor the laughter of two different species. It was simply the laughter of two souls discovering something rare together. Neither of them knew it yet, but that laughter would become the beginning of a bond stronger than tradition, stronger than fear, and stronger than the distance between their worlds. Days passed, and the royal ship still remained docked at Harbor 9. The repairs were taking longer than expected because some rare parts had to be ordered from a nearby colony. For most of the crew, the delay was a burden. For Ravi, it became something else, a chance to see Princess Myra almost every day. She often left her royal quarters, claiming she wished to observe the repair work. The guards followed her, always strict and suspicious, but Myra's eyes were never on them. Her attention was always on Ravi. One afternoon, Ravi was working in the storage bay, sorting through spare parts. Myra walked in quietly, her dress shimmering like starlight. Ravi glanced up and grinned. Careful, princess, he said. This place is not as shiny as your royal halls. You might step on a rusty bolt. Myra's lips curved into a soft smile. Then I shall trust you to protect me from such dangers. Ravi chuckled, tossing a small tool from one hand to the other. I'll do my best. But I can't promise victory against rusty bolts. They are my greatest enemy. Myra laughed lightly, the sound warming the cold storage room. The guards at the door shifted uncomfortably. They could not understand why the princess seemed so comfortable with this human. As Ravi worked, Myra asked more questions. She wanted to know everything: how humans traveled through space without great empires, how they built homes on strange planets, how they celebrated simple things like birthdays and meals. Ravi explained each one in plain words, sometimes adding small jokes. You humans celebrate by eating sweet cake and singing songs, she asked once, her violet eyes full of wonder. Yes, Ravi said. And sometimes the cake falls apart, and the songs are off-key. But that's what makes it fun. Myra tilted her head thoughtfully. In my world, we celebrate with silence and speeches. It does not sound fun. Ravi smiled gently. Then maybe one day, you'll have to try a human birthday. I'll even save you the biggest slice of cake. Her cheeks glowed faintly, and she looked away to hide her reaction. The guards noticed, their eyes narrowing. That evening, when Myra returned to her chamber, two of her guards spoke quietly among themselves. This human grows too close, one said. It is dangerous. The princess laughs with him, the other replied. She has not laughed in years. Perhaps it is more dangerous to stop her now. Still, their loyalty to tradition made them uneasy. They would soon report their observations to Myra's father, the alien king. The next day, Ravi and Myra met again in the workshop. Ravi was polishing a broken panel when Myra leaned closer, lowering her voice. Do you not fear speaking so freely to me? She asked. Most men bow, tremble, and choose each word with care. You do none of these things. Ravi shrugged, wiping his hands on a cloth. You're a princess, sure. But you're also a person. People should be able to talk, right? Her eyes widened slightly. No one had spoken to her that way before. Not her teachers, not her advisors, not even her family. Everyone treated her like a symbol, not a living soul. But Ravi's words were simple, and in that simplicity, she found something rare truth. That evening, they sat side by side near a window overlooking space. Beyond the glass, stars shone like countless diamonds scattered across the black. Myra pressed her hands together, gazing quietly. Do you ever feel small, Ravi? She asked softly. All the time, he admitted. But small doesn't mean unimportant. Even a small spark can light up the dark. Her eyes lingered on him, shining with thought. A spark, she whispered. Perhaps you are right. Silence settled between them, but it was not heavy. It was gentle, like the pause between heartbeats. Suddenly, Ravi grinned. Sweetie, you're staring again. Myra blinked, her cheeks flushing silver pink. I was not. Yes, you were, Ravi teased. Don't worry, I don't mind. She covered her mouth, half embarrassed, half amused. You are impossible, Ravi. Maybe, he said lightly. But at least I make you smile. And she did smile, wide and real. The guards shifted uncomfortably again, but they said nothing. Deep inside, even they could not deny that the princess seemed brighter, lighter, more alive when she was with the human mechanic. As the stars glimmered outside the window, something quiet but strong began to grow between Ravi and Myra. It was more than friendship, though neither of them dared to name it yet. It was a bond born not from duty or tradition, but from honesty, laughter, and the simple joy of being understood. Neither of them realized that others were watching closely. Neither of them knew that their bond would soon be tested by suspicion, anger, and danger. For now, there was only the soft sound of their laughter, echoing in the quiet halls of Harbor 9. The royal ship had been on Harbor 9 longer than anyone expected. At first, it was only for repairs, but delays kept stretching the stay. Most of the crew didn't mind hosting royalty, gave the station some pride. But whispers began to spread. Whispers about how often Princess Myra was seen with the human mechanic, Ravi. The alien guards had tried to keep quiet, but soon word reached Myra's father, the great king of the Aurelian Empire. A message arrived on the station in the form of a glowing crystal. The commander of Harbor 9 received it nervously and handed it to the guards. When the crystal opened, a tall figure appeared in light, the image of the alien king himself. His voice was deep and strict. Why do I hear that my daughter spends her time with a human worker? This is beneath her. A princess must not lower herself with common beings. The guards bowed their heads, but Myra stepped forward. Her voice was calm but firm. "Father, Ravi is not common. He has shown me things no one in the palace ever has: kindness, honesty, and laughter." The king's glowing image narrowed its eyes. "Laughter is weakness. Respect is power. Do not forget who you are, Myra." Then the message ended, leaving a heavy silence in the room. Ravi was not there when this happened, but later Myra found him in the workshop. She told him everything, though her voice was soft with worry. "He does not understand," she whispered. "In his eyes, I have disobeyed. He believes a princess must live above others, never beside them." Ravi put down his wrench and looked at her. "Well, I'm no king, but I think he's wrong. What's the point of being above everyone if it means being alone?" Myra's violet eyes softened, but her guards were watching closely. They clearly disapproved of Ravi's words. Still, Myra chose to stay beside him that evening, listening to him tell another story of Earth. But the real trouble came the next day. Harbor 9's alarms blared suddenly, red lights flashing across the halls. Ravi dropped his tools and rushed out, heart pounding. The commander's voice echoed through the speakers, warning. "Space raiders approaching. All crew to defense stations." Through the windows, several dark ships appeared, moving fast. They were raiders, outlaws who attacked weak stations, stealing supplies and ships. Harbor 9 was small and poorly armed. The royal vessel made it an even more tempting target. The alien guards hurried to protect Princess Myra, but chaos spread quickly. Crew members shouted, equipment rattled, and the station shook as the first blast struck its outer hull. Ravi ran toward the docking bay. He saw frightened workers rushing in every direction. He also saw Myra, standing tall among her guards, her face calm but her eyes worried. "Princess!" Ravi shouted as he reached her. "You need to get to safety." She shook her head. "I will not hide while others fight." Another blast shook the station. Metal groaned, and sparks flew from the ceiling. The guards raised their weapons, but Ravi knew they were not enough. Harbor 9 had weak defenses. If they did not act fast, the raiders would board and take everything. Ravi's mind raced. He was just a mechanic, but he knew the station's systems better than anyone. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "We can't fight them head on. But maybe we can outsmart them." The commander, pale with fear, grabbed his arm. "Do you have an idea?" Ravi nodded slowly. "The raiders expect us to be weak. But Harbor 9 has tricks. The docking bay doors can be controlled manually. If we lure their ships close, I can overload the bay's magnetic locks. It might trap them for a short time." The commander hesitated. "That is risky." Myra spoke firmly. "Then we must trust him. Ravi has never failed us." The guards looked uneasy, but the princess's voice carried weight. The commander finally gave a quick nod. "Do it." Ravi rushed to the control room, Myra right behind him despite the guards' protests. He pulled up the systems, his fingers moving quickly across old panels. Come on," he muttered. Outside, the raiders' ships drew closer. One already had its claws extended, ready to attach. The station shook again under fire. Myra stood beside Ravi, her eyes fixed on the screens. "You do not fear this?" she asked quietly. "Of course I do," Ravi admitted. "But fear doesn't fix problems. Quick thinking does." With a final press of his hand, the docking bay doors shifted. A powerful pull of magnetics activated, dragging two raider ships closer than they expected. They struggled to break free, but Ravi forced the locks to overcharge. Sparks flew from the panels, and alarms screamed. Then slam! The two raider ships crashed into each other, stuck against the bay doors. For a moment, the whole room filled with stunned silence. Then the commander shouted, "It worked! They're stuck!" The raiders panicked, their attack broken. The remaining ships retreated, not wanting to be caught the same way. Harbor 9 shook one last time, then fell quiet. The danger was over. Everyone cheered, though Ravi's hands were still trembling. He turned to see Myra looking at him, her violet eyes glowing with pride. "You saved us," she whispered. Ravi shrugged, forcing a smile. "Just another day's work." But inside, he knew it was not just another day. He was only a mechanic, yet he had saved a royal ship and a princess. And Myra, for the first time, saw not just a human worker, but someone truly extraordinary. What none of them knew was that this victory would only bring more questions. The king would not ignore this bond. And the universe would not stay quiet for long. The raider attack had ended, but Harbor 9 was left shaken. The station's outer walls bore new scars, several systems were damaged, and the crew was exhausted. Yet the danger had passed, thanks to one unlikely hero, a young mechanic named Ravi. The commander gathered everyone in the central hall. Workers, guards, and even Princess Myra stood together as he spoke. His voice was loud but still trembling from the memory of the attack. "Today, this station was saved," he announced. "Not by our weapons, not by our defenses, but by the quick mind of one man." He turned toward Ravi. "This mechanic trapped 2 raider ships and forced the rest to retreat. Without him, we might all be prisoners or worse." The crew erupted into cheers, clapping, and calling Ravi's name. Ravi shifted uncomfortably, unused to such attention. His hands were still covered in grease, his clothes torn from rushing through narrow passages during the battle. He didn't feel like a hero. He only felt tired. But Myra's gaze never left him. Her eyes glowed softly, not with formality, but with quiet pride. Later, as the workers repaired the station, Ravi walked through the damaged halls, checking on systems. Myra followed, ignoring the protests of her guards. "You were brave," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "You faced danger with only your mind and your hands." Ravi shook his head. "I wasn't brave. I was scared the whole time. I just didn't want anyone to get hurt." "Fear doesn't go away, but you can still act." Myra tilted her head. "That is what makes it bravery." Her words lingered in his heart, though Ravi tried to laugh it off. "Maybe. Or maybe I was just lucky." "No," Myra replied softly. "It was more than luck." That evening, a second message arrived from the Aurelian king. This time, the glowing crystal was placed in the hall where everyone could see. The king's tall figure appeared again, his silver crown shining with cold light. "I have heard of this human's actions," he said. "It seems he used tricks to save my daughter and her ship." "Clever, yes, but tricks are not strength. My people will not respect a mechanic's games." Myra stepped forward boldly. "Father, you are wrong. He used no armies, no fleets, only his wit. Without him, we would have been taken. You speak of strength, but what strength saved us today? Not weapons. Not soldiers. Only Ravi." The hall fell silent. No one had ever heard the princess challenge her father's words so directly. The king's image flickered, his eyes narrowing. "Myra, you forget your place." "I remember my place," she said calmly. "It is beside those who bring light, not fear." And today, it was a human who did so. Ravi stood frozen, unsure what to say. He had never expected anyone, let alone a princess, to defend him before a king. The king's image slowly faded, but not before leaving a warning. "We will speak again when you return, daughter. Do not let this human cloud your judgment." When the crystal dimmed, tension filled the room. The guards looked uneasy, the commander wiped sweat from his brow, and Ravi stared at the floor. But Myra lifted her chin, steady and proud. Over the next few days, Ravi worked tirelessly to repair the station's systems. The attack had damaged power lines and air filters, and people were worried. Instead of hiding in her chambers, Myra helped him. She carried tools when his hands were full, held lights when he crawled into dark passages, and asked endless questions about how each system worked. Ravi tried not to laugh when she accidentally dropped a wrench, then frowned as if the tool had insulted her. "You really don't have to help, Princess," Ravi said one evening as they patched a broken panel together. "I want to," Myra replied simply. "You repair more than machines. You repair people's hope. I wish to learn how." Ravi glanced at her, surprised by her sincerity. He had never thought of his work that way. To him, fixing things was just survival. But Myra saw more. She saw the spark behind his hands. That night, when they finished, Ravi leaned back against the wall, tired but smiling. "You know," he said, "you're not too bad with tools. Not quite as good as me, but close." Myra gave him a playful glare. "Sweetie, I am still learning. Perhaps one day I will surpass you." Ravi laughed. "When that happens, I'll retire and let you do all the work." For a moment, they both laughed together, the sound echoing in the quiet hall. The guards looked at them in disbelief. To them, it was unimaginable, a princess laughing freely with a human mechanic. But to Ravi and Myra, it felt natural. The next morning, the station commander called Ravi aside. His expression was serious. "You should be careful," he said quietly. "The king's patience is thin. You saved us, yes, but royalty is prideful. He may not forgive you for standing so close to his daughter." Ravi nodded slowly. "I understand. But I didn't do any of this for the king. I did it because it was right." The commander sighed, then placed a hand on his shoulder. "That is what makes you different. And maybe, that is why the princess trusts you more than anyone." Ravi glanced across the hall, where Myra stood speaking to some workers, her silver hair catching the light. She laughed at something they said, her voice clear and bright. He smiled faintly. Whatever trouble lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: this bond between them was no accident. It was real. And no warning from kings or guards could change that. Days passed after the raider attack, and Harbor 9 slowly returned to normal. Repairs were nearly complete, and life on the station seemed calmer. Yet, a quiet tension lingered in the air. Ravi could feel it every time he looked at Princess Myra, and he knew it was more than the fear of her father's disapproval. Myra, too, felt it. She had grown closer to Ravi than she ever thought possible. Each laugh, each story, each shared moment made her realize something important: she trusted him in a way she had never trusted anyone before. Her father's warnings echoed in her mind, but Ravi's presence calmed her fears. One evening, the two of them sat in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The lights of distant planets shimmered in the darkness, and the soft hum of the station filled the silence. "Ravi," Myra said softly, breaking the quiet. "Do you ever think about why humans and aliens are so different?" Ravi shrugged. "All the time. But maybe the differences are not a problem. Maybe they just make things more interesting." Myra smiled faintly. "I like that answer. You see things simply, yet clearly. It is comforting." Ravi hesitated for a moment, then looked at her seriously. "Myra, I've never met anyone like you. You're not just brave or smart, you care about people in a way I can't even explain." Myra's violet eyes widened, and her cheeks turned a soft silver pink. I I feel the same about you," she admitted quietly. "You make me laugh, Ravi. You make me think differently. And, you make me feel alive." Ravi's heart skipped a beat. He had never expected a princess to say such words. He smiled gently, reaching out, but hesitated. I feel the same, Myra. I never thought I could feel like this about someone so different from me. But I do. For a moment, neither spoke. The stars outside seemed to hold their breath. Then, softly, Myra reached for his hand. It was a small gesture, but it carried more meaning than words could ever express. "You are my friend," she said simply, her voice steady. "And perhaps, something more." Ravi squeezed her hand lightly. "I would like that," he said, his voice quiet but certain. The next day, the station's commander brought news that made them both uneasy. Another message had arrived from the Aurelian king. He was returning to the station, personally, to assess the situation. Myra's smile faded slightly, and Ravi felt a pang of worry. "He will be angry," Myra said softly, her eyes downcast. "He does not trust humans. He believes we cannot understand each other." Ravi nodded. "Then we'll have to show him he's wrong. Not with words, but with actions. We've already done that once, haven't we?" Myra's lips curved into a small smile. "Yes, we have." When the king arrived, the station was quiet, filled with anxious crew members and stiff alien guards. He stepped into the central hall, tall and glowing, his presence commanding immediate respect. His eyes swept over everyone, finally resting on Ravi. "You," he said, his voice low and cold. "Human. You are the one who has caused my daughter to abandon caution. Speak." Ravi stood tall, though his hands trembled slightly. "Your Majesty, I did not mean to cause harm. I only acted to protect the station and everyone aboard it, including your daughter. I used what I knew, my skills, and my mind. That is all." The king's glowing eyes narrowed. "And yet, my daughter trusts you. She laughs with you. She follows your instructions." Myra stepped forward boldly. "Father, Ravi is not just a mechanic. He is clever, brave, and honest. He saved our lives, not with armies or weapons, but with his mind and heart. I trust him because he has proven himself worthy." For a long moment, the hall was silent. The king's gaze shifted between his daughter and the human. He studied Ravi, as if searching for some flaw, but found none. "Very well," the king said finally, his voice stern but less harsh. "Perhaps, humans are not as simple as I thought. Perhaps they have value beyond their size and strength." Myra exhaled softly, relief in her eyes. Ravi smiled faintly, feeling a sense of accomplishment, though he knew the king's acceptance was still tentative. Later, Myra and Ravi returned to the observation deck. The stars sparkled outside, calm and eternal. Myra leaned against him slightly, a quiet closeness forming between them. "You know," she said softly, "I never thought a human could make me laugh like this. Or feel safe." Ravi smiled and shrugged. "I guess humans have a few tricks up their sleeves." She laughed lightly, resting her head against his shoulder. "I like your tricks. More than I expected." And there, beneath the endless sky of stars, Ravi and Myra shared a moment of quiet joy. Their bond had grown stronger than ever, forged in laughter, trust, and the courage to be themselves. Though the king might still doubt, though the universe might bring more challenges, for now, they had each other. And that was enough. The repairs on Harbor 9 were finally complete. The station, once battered and worn, now shone with fresh metal panels and bright lights. The crew worked quickly, cleaning, polishing, and checking every system. Even the royal ship gleamed beside it, ready for departure. Ravi walked through the station, carrying his toolbox. He had grown comfortable here, not just as a mechanic but as someone who had earned respect through courage and skill. And though he had never expected it, he had also earned the friendship and perhaps something more of Princess Myra. Myra waited in the docking bay, her silver hair catching the light. She smiled as Ravi approached. "It is finally done," she said softly. The station is safe, thanks to you. Ravi shrugged, trying to look modest. I only did what I had to. Everyone helped. I was just lucky to be in the right place at the right time. Myra shook her head gently. Luck has little to do with courage. You acted when others hesitated. That is why I trust you and admire you. Ravi's cheeks warmed slightly. I admire you too, princess. For your courage, your honesty, and your laughter. You made it easier to face everything. For a moment, they stood quietly, the hum of the station around them. It was a comfortable silence, the kind that only comes between friends who understand each other completely. The Aurelian king appeared via a holographic message one last time before departure. This time, his tone was measured, almost approving. Daughter, he said, you have shown me that trust can come from unexpected places. Human or alien, courage and loyalty are not bound by blood or tradition. I see now that you are wise to choose friends carefully. Myra bowed her head respectfully. Thank you, father. I have learned much from this human. Ravi, standing beside her, looked at the king with quiet respect. Your Majesty, it has been an honor. I only hope I did enough to protect your daughter and your ship. The king's eyes softened slightly. You did. Remember this, human, strength comes in many forms. You have proven yours. With that, the hologram faded, leaving a calm quiet in the docking bay. Myra looked at Ravi, a smile playing on her lips. You see, she whispered. Even my father can admit that humans are not so simple. Ravi laughed lightly. I guess we're full of surprises. That evening, Myra and Ravi returned to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, sparkling like countless tiny lights in the darkness. You know, Myra said softly, leaning slightly closer, I never imagined that life could be like this. That I could laugh freely, speak honestly, and care for someone so different. Ravi smiled, his hand brushing hers gently. I never imagined I'd meet someone like you either. Someone who sees beyond who I am, and treats me like me. She tilted her head, her violet eyes soft and shining. We understand each other, Ravi. That is what matters. Not title, not tradition, not fear. Ravi nodded. Then let's promise something. Myra raised an eyebrow, curious. Let's promise to face whatever comes next together, he said. No matter who says it's impossible. She smiled brightly. I promise. They shook hands lightly, and then laughed at the formality of it. Their laughter echoed across the deck, blending with the quiet hum of the station and the twinkling stars outside. The next morning, Harbor 9 prepared for departure. The royal ship would continue its journey, but Princess Myra would return often. She had found a place here where she was more than a princess, where she was a friend, a student of life, and someone who could laugh freely. Ravi stood at the entrance of his workshop, watching as Myra's ship prepared for liftoff. She waved at him, her smile radiant. He waved back, his heart light with hope. Safe travels, he called out. And you, Ravi, she replied. Keep the station safe, and don't forget to laugh. He chuckled, watching her ship rise. I won't. And neither should you. As the stars carried her away, Ravi looked around the station. Harbor 9 was no longer just a home, it was a place where courage, laughter, and friendship had changed everything. He felt pride in what they had accomplished together, knowing that the bond between a human and an alien princess could bridge worlds. In that moment, the universe seemed a little smaller, a little warmer, and filled with endless possibilities. Ravi returned to his workshop, humming softly as he cleaned his tools. Myra's laughter still lingered in his ears, bright and clear. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that no matter what challenges came next, they would face them together. Because courage, laughter, and friendship were stronger than fear, stronger than tradition, and stronger than the distance between stars. And so, a new chapter began for Ravi, for Myra, and for the worlds that would one day learn that trust and understanding could cross any boundary.